I decided a long time ago that I would talk about all the kinds of experiences that may happen to people, even though there's a certain danger in that because it sets up expectations, cravings, aversions, comparison mind, desires, and so forth. So I just give you the little heads up. Nothing that I'm going to describe tonight in terms of sensory experiences are required for the classical path to enlightenment. You may have experiences like what I'm going to describe. You may not. There's lots of different arcs that people go through in traversing the territory between surface and source. So one of the themes that can come up for a person is the theme of impermanence, anicca in the Pali language, anitya in Sanskrit. I have a set of techniques for working with this theme. I call it focus on change. There's nothing mystical, schmystical, or special about the fact that sensory experience changes. If you've ever noticed a sensation get stronger or get weaker, anybody ever notice that? Okay, then you've noticed impermanence. It changed. Intensity levels vary. You may think that my back's been aching, in an unvarying way all afternoon. You say, my back hurt all afternoon. So my back's been hurting all afternoon. Sort of sounds like that, right? The afternoon started, the afternoon is over, and sounds like it's a constant function. But if you pay close attention, it's not exactly a straight line. It's sort of like, well, it was a little more, then a little less, and a little more, then a little less. There's, maybe a little bit of ripple on that, if we speak more accurately. As we begin to look a little bit more accurately still, this changingness may become more evident. A sense of rising, passing begins to appear. You'll remember last night I said that the more you focus on the impermanence, the more sensitive you become to it. And that's sort of like the clarity and the concentration piece. But the more equanimity you have with things, since equanimity is sort of makes you more flexible. I would compare concentration to muscle strength, and maybe clarity is like definition, okay, in training. And then, so equanimity would be analogous to flexibility. So as you become more flexible, of course, you can reflect the flow of impermanence, spirit, if you wish. So at some point, you may actually get a sense that what was just the hint of a ripple or became peaks and valleys, that actually there's rising, passing, rising, passing, rising, passing, rising, passing, like that. I sometimes like to ask a rhetorical question. Do mountains dance? And I would suggest to you that there's three possible answers. Yes, no, and it depends. And I would say it depends. It depends on how patiently and how carefully you look at a mountain. If you look with the patience of centuries, in other words, great equanimity, timeless. Equanimity is a kind of timeless world. Some of you have gone into this. You may have had an experience either under conditions of great ease or under conditions of great peril. Time sort of slows down, okay? And there's like there's an altered sense. Well, when you drop into equanimity, the deeper levels of equanimity, that it sort of, you have the patience of centuries. And viewed with the patience of centuries, in other words, in time-lapse photography, what does the surface of the Earth look like? Roiling, streaming protoplasm, really alive, with flux. So it depends on how patiently you look, in other words, how much equanimity there is. It's also how carefully you look. If you look at anything beyond the level of the atom, or the molecule for that matter, it's just a dance of energy, a mountain. But if you don't look really finely, or you don't look, so there's not the clarity piece, if you don't look patiently, there's not the equanimity piece, then the mountain seems solid as a rock, as the expression goes. So subtle is significant. Underneath that hint of ripple is an entire world rising, passing, rising, passing, rising, passing. There are different flavors of impermanence or change. One is change in intensity. I just sort of graphed that, okay? Another very significant way that sensory experiences changes, they sort of shift in shape. Remember, we've made a big thing about the spatial nature of experience, that you can localize, perhaps not with great precision, but you can sort of get a general sense of size, shape, and position of body sensations, and indeed even auditory thoughts have a sort of size, shape, and position in your head. Visual thoughts, up in front in image space and so forth. So if you sort of zoom out and cover the whole area of, say, a sensation, you may notice that it shifts a little bit here, shifts a little bit there. Subtle is significant, may not be all that dramatic, but it's like a millimeter here, it sort of like moves over here, moves over there. And as you're watching that little like waviness and whatever, and you're infusing it with equanimity and time is passing, those shifting shapes can become much more significant and fascinating. You can get so fascinated with how it moves that you become less concerned with whether it's pleasure or pain. It all starts to feel good. Even uncomfortable sensations feel good because of the way they move. There's like a fascination with it, almost a massage to it. Marshall McLuhan said the medium is the message, right? But I would take it one step back. The nature's deepest message is not the medium, it's the movement of the medium. That's a primordial message that flows through all of nature. And since our sensory systems are part of nature, flows through us.